Good morning, church. Hope you're all well today. So I'm going to share something today on the topic of grief and loss. So let's look at John chapter 16, verse 16 through to 22. So Jesus is talking to his disciples here about his death, which is only a few hours away, and his resurrection 3 days later. So when speaking to them, he says, "In a little while, you will see me no more, and then after a little while, you will see me." And by this wording, the disciples are slightly confused and they're talking amongst themselves saying, what does he mean when he says, "In a little while, you will see me no more, and then after a little while, you will see me"? And Jesus saw that they wanted to ask him more because they didn't fully understand. So he said to them, "Are you asking one another what I meant when I said, 'In a little while you will see no more, and then after a little while you will see me'?" Then Jesus goes on to explain himself, and he says, "You will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy." And that's the main verse here. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. And Jesus then goes on and compares grief and joy in that verse to a woman giving birth. So he says, a woman giving birth to a child has pain because her time has come. So her time has come to give birth, and it's a hugely painful process. But when her baby is born, she forgets the pain because of the joy of holding that newborn baby in her arms. And then Jesus goes on to say, "Now is your time of grief, but I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy." And I really want to make the point of that promise that, yes, Jesus is saying you will experience grief, but no one will take away your joy. And grief has been on my heart because we have been setting up our church's bereavement support group. And as part of that, we've been doing some online training. And really out of that training, it has become sort of more apparent to me that actually nothing in life can prepare us for the death of a loved one. And actually for many of us, it will be potentially one of the worst things we will experience on this earth. And how we all deal with grief is so different, and it's such a unique and personal journey. But in the current circumstances, add a pandemic on top of that, and you've got people grieving in isolation on their own. No physical contact, so no family or friends to give you a hug when you most need it. And lots of people without the opportunity to pay their respects and say goodbye properly. And even broader than that, looking at loss, there are so many people right now who have given up so much as a result of this pandemic. So whether that be your freedom, time with your loved ones, missed holidays, have you maybe lost your job, lost the opportunity to go to school and be with your friends? We've all put aside dreams and hopes as a result of the restrictions that we currently live in, as well as the huge loss that so many people who've been bereaved are facing. But I want to encourage you that in verse 20, Jesus promises that yes, you will grieve, you will experience loss, but he says your grief will turn to joy. And just to add another verse into that, in Romans 8:28, a very well-known verse, it says, "We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." And I just want to share a personal story in my family of grief. So when I was about 3 years old, my uncle, so my mum's younger brother, at the age of 26, died very suddenly in a tragic motorbike accident. And For any family, losing a loved one, particularly at his age, is absolutely heartbreaking. And when it happens so suddenly, it's very difficult to process and understand what's going on, let alone eventually try and pick up the pieces and continue with life. But as a result of my uncle dying, the decision was made to donate some of his organs, and his organs went on to save the lives and help create better quality lives for a couple of people, which I just think is amazing. And yes, as a family, we were without a brother, a son, an uncle, but for many other families, as a result of him passing and donating his organs, they had a renewed hope. They had that renewed joy for their loved ones who had a new lease of life. So I just really want to encourage you that yes, grief is extremely difficult and takes time, but there is the promise in Jesus that your grief will turn to joy. Hope you all have a good day.